What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. A bunch of stuff to get into today. We have to talk about a new Nintendo Switch bundle that shows a pretty strong, interesting relationship between Nintendo and Blizzard. It's odd to see because they really hadn't done much before this at all, but we're getting a new bundle, and it's very interesting because it's for Diablo. We're going to go over all the details there. And then we also have to talk about something that was going around the internet yesterday that was all over the place, and that had to do with Rockstar and crunch with their employees, because a lot of information is getting thrown out there, but I want to go over everything here so you can get the full story and why everyone was going crazy over this. First, though, before we start, I want to say thanks to everyone who's been liking the videos. That has been helping. So if you guys enjoy this video or any others, make sure you guys hit the like button, help out, because that seems to be how YouTube is doing things now with notifications and pushing the video. Seems to have something to do with likes and comments and everything. That's why you're seeing a lot of YouTubers now talk about likes and everything. So yeah, like the video if you like it, guys. Let's jump into some of the quick news to get started here. We're going to start right away with Sony. If we talked about the messaging issue that was going on with where it was crashing systems, wasn't outright breaking them, it was crashing systems though. It sounds like Sony is at least investigating, and in an email response to Games Radar, they are working on the issue and they're working to provide some sort of software update for your system. So more than likely at some point, hopefully in the next few days, hopefully today would be preferable, obviously, the sooner the better, you're going to get some kind of software update that goes out, you download it, and it will fix whatever this weird messaging issue is on the PlayStation 4. Like we talked about before, this was an exploit that's popped up on other things, and iPhones had an issue at one point with some sort of symbol that was getting passed around that would crash iPhones, and now the PlayStation's getting it, so hopefully whatever software update they put out soon will fix it. I'll let you guys know when that does go live. Oh, and you guys remember Morpheus Law? Remember that launched and it didn't go that well. It was very laggy, it just didn't play that well, and a lot of it had to do with just servers or poor connection or poor netcode in general. Well, They heard us because they put out a statement promising new and free content going forward to kind of make up for that launch issue, saying, due to a bunch of reasons, some of which we could influence, others not, our launch wasn't good, and sadly it's hard to find full games these days. This sucks for a multiplayer game, and we are determined to fix this situation. For this to happen, though, we need to make a big splash. We can't tell you yet what this big splash will be, but we can tell you this: you'll get a lot more Morpheus Law for free. We just ask you to be patient for a little while. So if you bought Morpheus Law, you felt a little burned about how it was playing at first, or even if you liked the game, it's cool to see that they are going to be providing a lot of new content for free, just as to kind of make up for what happened there at launch. And it's exciting to see, but we'll see what they roll out and what they come up with, as they're saying they're implementing new ideas from feedback and just ideas going around the office and the team. So we'll see what they come up with. I like the idea of the game. I think it's creative, but it was tough to play that game online just with what was going on. It was just so laggy and it just wasn't very fun. But offline, it was night and day difference, and it was actually fun offline when you're playing locally. So we'll see what they come up with, and I'll keep you guys updated on that too. Also, Mega Man 11 has launched, and for the most part, a lot of people liked it. I was okay on it. I've been a big Mega Man fan for a long time, and I understand that if you don't play a lot of Mega Man games, this might be a good entry into the series, especially if you really haven't played them much. This is a good entry, but as someone who's really liked Mega Man, has played Mega Man since the beginning, I was okay on it and thought it was an alright return to form for the series. But what's interesting is the producer mentioned in a new interview that there were only about 40-ish people working on this game, and they originally had the idea and started conceptualizing it at the end of 2016. So starting, I guess, at the beginning of 2017 till October 2018 when they shipped the game, they were working on it, and they got it done pretty quick, actually. So about 40 people. It sounds like they're keeping the budget manageable and within reason, which tells me this game will probably make money, as I'm sure the sales are probably good enough for them to get a return on this, and that makes me happy because I believe that the next series that's up for, I guess, a resurgence here is Mega Man X, which would be Mega Man X9. So I'm hoping that Capcom got the message and they're ready to bring that series back, maybe as early as announcing it next year for a 2020 launch. We'll see, but it's good to hear that they didn't go crazy on the budget with this game, and because of that, they'll probably make money leading to the next game in hopefully the X lineup. It could also be Mega Man 12, so we'll see. And with some of the quick news out of the way, let's jump into some of the bigger stuff, starting with Shenmue. Now, the Shenmue HD 1 and 2 collection came out. It was pretty good. I mean, it still had the old flaws of Shenmue, and Shenmue, I don't think has aged as well as maybe some people remember it, but it's still a game that is very important in the history of gaming, and I'm glad a lot of people bought it, and it seemed to sell pretty well. Overall, the hardcore Shenmue fandom definitely bought into it, and it sounded like it did pretty well, but what if I told you there was actually a full-blown remake that was kind of behind the scenes and they stopped working on it in lieu of just getting the HD collection together to push out the door? Well, interestingly enough, Digital Foundry got footage of this, took a look at it, and it's from John Linneman over there, and he does great work with the retro series they do. I really like watching those. Well, he actually went over this, and yeah, there was a full Shenmue remake that was happening behind the scenes. But it sounds like they moved on from that for a couple of reasons. It could have been like budget reasons, or maybe it just wasn't shaping up the way they wanted it to be. But man, what could have been here is what I'll say. Now, I also want to say, this doesn't necessarily mean that this won't ever release. It could. This could be something maybe they continue working on as they go forward, especially towards that Shenmue 3 release. They could just do a full-on remake or remix or something they want to call it. It's always possible, but it's also possible this was just something they were testing and prototyping internally, and it wasn't up to standards. They weren't comfortable with putting this out because some of it did look kind of rough in the comparisons, which I'll leave a link to that video down below so you can go check it out in full for yourself, and I encourage you to do so because it's a good video, and it's always interesting to me to see behind the scenes as to what does go on, because I can tell you there are a ton of things that get prototyped behind the scenes, games that you may want to release, and they just don't feel like it's worth putting out there. And we saw glimpses at we've seen glimpses at some games before that have been prototyped or maybe even full-on canceled in front of us, like Mega Man Legends 3. That's probably one they should have kept behind the scenes. But think of that. Think of if you never heard about Mega Man Legends 3. There are a lot of situations like that behind the scene that just never come out. This is one that just happened, I guess, to come out. Digital Foundry got the scoop, and very interesting to see. I would like to see this come out at some point, but Sega isn't a company that has the money to just throw around for every single project, so they do have to pick and choose. It sounds like they just weren't comfortable. They didn't pick this one, basically. Next up, let's talk about this Diablo III Eternal Collection bundle that's coming out for the Nintendo Switch. It's going to be launching in November alongside the game, and it's going to be $360, so yeah, it's basically the system and the game, but they have put some work into this, and what's interesting about this situation is they're actually going a little further than that as well, because there's also a controller that's coming out that is also Diablo 3 themed. We're going to go over that as well, because that actually pulls PowerA into the mix with that controller that we looked at before, the PowerA enhanced wireless controller. They're going to be doing a Diablo style one of that as well that we're going to check out here. Here's the system though. It's 360, and as you can see right away, it does come with a full game download. I know why they do that, because it saves money, but me being somebody who's more on the physical front of games, if I can help it, that's something I would like to see, and especially since when I got my Spider-Man PS4, it did come with a physical copy of Spider-Man, which was a nice touch. But looking at the system itself, it does come with a case, which they did that with the Mario bundle that they did. They had a case in there as well. That seems to be the only free thing about it, by the way. But looking at the system, the dock has etchings on it. The back of the system itself has etchings on it, and they haven't really done much work with Blizzard at all in the past. This is very interesting to see. And the only other third-party company that they've done a bundle similar to this with was Monster Hunter, but that never really made it outside of Japan. But this one is going everywhere. This is a straight-up bundle that seems to be up for pre-order on GameStop. And it's very interesting to see this relationship. The other thing is that controller that you're seeing here, where, remember I looked at that Zelda controller, and I actually think it's a pretty good controller. It has macro buttons on the bottom. It is missing, same as the ones I have, where it's missing the rumble and the NFC functionality, but everything else is there, including those added macro controls, which is pretty cool. And that is also Diablo themed, and these are licensed controllers through PowerA's, officially licensed controllers. We have Diablo on that, we have Diablo on the Switch, and I did also say a while ago that one of the best ways for Nintendo to help meet that goal of 20 million more Switch units this fiscal year is bundle everything. Bundles all over the place. That's why you see that Fortnite bundle that makes no sense anyway. It's marketing, it helps to sell. There are big Diablo fans that might see this, they might even buy a Switch just for Diablo. Well, here you go. There's a Diablo bundle. Comes with a game, comes with a free carrying case, I guess. But it's pretty cool to see, and of course, it's a limited edition Switch that collectors will probably buy into as well. It's good for everyone, but it's very interesting to see Nintendo making these relationships that a lot of us have not seen before. Nintendo and Blizzard working on a system together like this, having that game come over, putting Ganondorf in it. This is a strong relationship, so you never know where it'll lead, but at least for now, with this holiday, it's leading to a system. Next up, let's talk about this whole situation with Rockstar, Red Dead Redemption 2, and crunch. Now, if you don't know what crunch is, that's essentially when the different studios have deadlines to meet, and they pretty much pressure and push employees into working very long hours, like 80 hours, 100 hours, a lot of hours, basically. We're talking days of 12 to 14 hours, and this isn't new to necessarily gaming today. It's not even really just sequestered off in gaming. It's for a lot of workplaces, really. I mean, if there's deadlines to meet, sometimes if you get up against it, the employees can be coerced or even forced in some cases into working long hours to I guess you'd say, quote unquote, do it for the team, be a team player essentially. Well, this is an interesting situation because Rockstar has been accused of this before. And now we hear Dan Houser, who's a co-founder of Rockstar, in an interview saying, "The polishing, rewrites, and re-edits Rockstar does are immense. We were working 100-hour weeks several times in 2018, Dan says. The finished game includes 300,000 animations, 500,000 lines of dialogue, and many more lines of code. Even for each Red Dead Redemption 2 trailer and TV commercial, we probably made 70 versions, but the editors may make several hundred. Sam and I will both make lots of suggestions." I don't know why I said both make twice, as will other members of the team. So he's talking about Red Dead Redemption 2 and how much work they're putting into it and everything. And he says 100-hour work week like it's a normal thing. That's a lot of work. If you really sit down and think about it, it's like 14 hours a day, and I guess a few 15-hour days thrown in there, 7 days a week. So basically every day. That's a lot of time to spend at the office. Pretty much the point where you have no time for anything else. Barely have time, I guess, to leave and go get food even. Well, apparently, according to Dan Houser anyway, when Kotaku reached out after this, keep in mind he said that very nonchalantly, by the way, the 100-hour work week, Kotaku reached out to Dan Houser, and he wanted to explain a bit further, saying things might have been misinterpreted, saying, "There seems to be some confusion arising from my interview with Harold Goldberg. The point I was trying to make in the article was related to how the narrative and dialogue in the game was crafted, which was mostly what we talked about, not about the different processes of the wider team. After working on the game for 7 years, the senior writing team, which consists of 4 people, Mike, Rupert, Laszlo, and myself, had, as we always do, 3 weeks of intense work when we wrapped everything up. 3 weeks, not years. We have all worked together for at least 12 years now and feel we need this to get everything finished. After so many years of getting things organized and ready on this project, we need this to check and finalize everything. More importantly, we obviously don't expect anyone else to work this way across the whole company. We have some senior people who work very hard purely because they're passionate about a project or their particular work, and we believe that passion shows in the games we release. But that additional effort is a choice, and we don't ask or expect anyone to work anything like this." So you might be wondering why a lot of people jumped on this and maybe a little crazy over it. I mean, crunch is a serious thing. There are a lot of issues when it comes to crunch, and a lot of people get concerned that these people will get burned out, pretty much used up completely by these companies, spit out, and then moved on. That is a thing. It almost seems like we look at a game and we forget about the sometimes hundreds of people who are working on it behind the scenes. And yeah, burnout is a real thing. It's not like we have an unlimited supply of developers, and they are actual people, obviously. And the thing about this is companies can, well, generally, if in the US especially, you can be salaried, and sometimes you won't even get paid extra for some of that overtime, which is kind of crazy to think about because, some of the higher ups are getting bonuses, like the CEOs, project managers, co-founders. You will get bonuses, you get that extra yacht and everything, but those people at the ground level who are in the trenches, quote unquote, they'll get the same check they usually get. Sometimes they'll get a high five, I work through, or maybe like a nice pizza party, but that is the issue, and that's why crunch is viewed the way it is, because the people who actually suffer for it don't usually get the rewards that the higher-ups will get, and it does hurt and obviously affect the gaming industry as a whole. So why Rockstar would get this kind of heat that quickly is because there's not a lot of trust around them when it comes to crunch, since they've been accused of this before. See, a while ago, leading up to Red Dead Redemption 1's release, the spouses of the employees at Rockstar San Diego actually wrote an entire open letter that I believe Gamasutra actually posted. And it was all about how they barely saw them. They were required to work sometimes 12 hours a day, including Saturdays. And there wasn't a lot of family time or time away from the office, essentially. And yeah, that's not good. And it almost seems like some of these companies do champion crunch, like it's part of the culture, and it's not necessarily. It's obviously not good. It's not healthy, and that's why you see this pushback so quickly, because it does affect actual people that maybe we don't see. We'll see it in the scrolling credits. So it doesn't, at least for now, look like there was that kind of crunch that we heard about 100 hours. But keep in mind, this is also the co-founder of Rockstar, Dan Houser, who is telling us that. I'll be curious to see if Kotaku or anyone else follows up with some anonymous leads, we'll say that, into Rockstar to see what kind of culture is going on there with crunch. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is the Rockstar crunch situation with their employees. Let me know what you think about that situation, because he definitely said 100 hours pretty nonchalantly, pretty easily, and then he kind of backtracked on it and talked about how they don't expect everyone to work that hard. Almost like it's impossible to work hard in 40-hour work weeks. Huh, interesting. But let me know what you think about that. The bundle with Blizzard and Nintendo for the Switch, and about that interesting relationship. Do you think that's going to go further beyond Diablo? Overwatch, maybe? Let me know what you think about that, guys, down below as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.